Okay, let's get into this. Today we're diving deep into a really notable shift, quite an abrupt one actually, in geopolitical talk.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
We're looking at how these international relationships, ones built on maybe perceived alignment, how they can just unravel
Yeah.
and fast, and how it plays out in state media.
Right.
Our focus today, it's the sudden, really stark change in how Russian state media is painting U.S. President Donald Trump.
And for this, we're mainly drawing on a recent, very detailed article from the Moscow Times.
Oh?
It does a good job breaking down this pivot, gives us some real insight into, well, propaganda and perception management, basically.
So our mission here is to unpack the why and the what behind this shift.
Mm-hmm.
What can we learn about propaganda, about managing narratives, and maybe how fragile these international alignments really are when things don't go as expected.
Exactly. And the core thing, the really striking part, is just how sudden and intense this shift in portrayal was regarding Trump.
Right. Because before this, it was quite different.
Oh, absolutely. Until, very recently, Russian state outlets were consistently framing Trump as the pragmatic alternative to Biden.
Pragmatic alternative.
Yeah, they kept highlighting his promises, about ending the Ukraine war. He was almost positioned as, well, maybe not an ally, but a preferred figure.
And then, boom, the script flips entirely.
Yeah.
What was the stark? What immediately caused this?
It seems to pin down to one specific event, a phone call between Trump and Putin July 4th.
Okay, the July 4th call.
Right. And despite all Trump's talk about ending the conflict, that call apparently made zero progress. None at all.
Huh. So no movement on the war front. But was there something in the call, a specific comment or incident that really set things off?
Yes. There seems to have been a specific trigger. And it was pretty blunt. According to reports during the call, Trump straight up accused Putin of saying a lot of bulls about the war in Ukraine.
Wow. Okay, that's direct.
Very direct. And that phrase, a lot of bulls, seems to be the flashpoint, a real challenge to the established narrative,
I can imagine. So when that comment, that specific phrase, hit the news or became known, what was the reaction inside Russian state media? Like immediately? Who jumped on it first?
Well, one of the most prominent pro-Kremlin TV hosts, Vladimir Solovyov, he went right on the attack, almost instantly.
On his show?
Yeah, on his main talk show. He publicly slammed Trump for, quote, his disrespectful tone. Said flat out, Trump has started to speak rudely.
Just like that? Rudely.
Exactly. And he didn't stop there. He claimed Trump was, and this is another quote, undergoing a Bidenization.
A Bidenization? What does that even mean in this context?
Well, Solovyov explained it as Trump turning into another version of Biden. Why? Because Trump supposedly thinks he's the only person able to speak with Putin.
Ah, okay. So arrogance, basically,
Yeah.
hubris.
That seems to be the angle. And Solovyov wrapped it up by saying Russia has, quote, no obligation to accommodate Trump's preferences. A very clear message.
Right. From pragmatic alternative to undergoing Bidenization. That's quite the rhetorical demotion.
Yeah.
Did other big names in Russian state media pick this up, add their own spin?
They did, almost immediately. The very next day, actually. State TV anchor Olga Skabieva, she offered a particularly provocative angle.
Oh, what was that?
She basically floated the idea that the U.S. might use Ukraine's request for an investigation into alleged Russian chemical weapons use.
Okay.
Use that as a pretext to, quote, crush our regime.
Crush the regime. Based on that. Wow.
And she even hinted at fabricated evidence, asking very pointedly, will we see a test tube from CIA Director John Ratcliffe, referencing Colin Powell in Iraq?
Right, that infamous UN presentation. That's a heavy implication, connecting Trump's actions, or maybe inaction on the call, to potential regime change plots.
It certainly escalates the rhetoric. It tries to paint this whole situation, maybe Trump's perceived failure on the call, as part of a larger, more sinister Western plan.
How did other major state outlets frame it? Did they follow that crush the regime line or take a different angle on the disappointment with Trump?
Vesti, the state-owned media giant, they took a slightly different tack. They interpreted Trump's dissatisfaction, his bluntness on the call, as really reflecting his own worry.
Worry about what?
Worry that the war in Ukraine is, quote, not developing according to Trump's plans.
Ah, so shifting the focus, making it seem like Trump is frustrated because his strategy isn't working, implying maybe he doesn't understand the situation or isn't in control.
Exactly. It subtly undermines his position, suggests he's out of his depth, perhaps.
So it wasn't just about policy disagreement then. It sounds like they started going after him personally, trying to weaken his image. any direct comparisons made?
Oh, definitely. A correspondent on Russia One, another state broadcaster, came out with a really sharp comparison.
Let's hear it.
They said, quote, Trump's personal Afghanistan is drawing closer after the collapse of Ukraine. The White House leader is increasingly resembling his predecessor, whom he so strongly despises.
Oof. A personal Afghanistan, and comparing him directly to Biden, the figure he constantly rails against, that's designed to hit hard.
Absolutely. It ties him to a perceived major American foreign policy failure and aims to diminish that strongman image he cultivates.
And what's also interesting here, you mentioned TV hosts, anchors, correspondents, but this wasn't just limited to the big TV broadcasts, was it? This narrative spread further.
That's a key point. It wasn't contained. This new anti-Trump line spread quickly across those Russian pro-war Telegram channels, the ones often called Z channels.
Right, the Z channels.
And also across VKontakte, which is, Russia's biggest social media platform. It suggests a very coordinated, multi-pronged effort, not just top-down broadcasting.
Okay, so it hits the social networks too. Can you give an example? How did it look there? Was it the same kind of rhetoric or more meme-like?
Well, one example was a war correspondent, Alexander Kortz. He used social media to specifically mock that diplomatic slip-up Trump had at the White House.
Which one was that?
Remember he asked the Liberian president, Joseph Boakai, how he spoke English so well, even though English is Liberia's official language.
Ah, yes. I remember that making the rounds.
Cutts jumped on that. And he wrote something like, Trump could surpass Biden in making public missteps by the end of his term.
So using ridicule, trying to paint him as unserious, maybe even incompetent, chipping away at that leader image.
Exactly. It's a common tactic.
And on platforms like VKontakte, what was the scale? Was it just a few influential accounts pushing this, or did it look like a broader campaign?
It seems broader. There's a watchdog group, Botnadzor, that tracks state-linked bot activity.
Okay.
They reported finding over 2,000 comments attacking Trump, specifically under posts on VKontakte discussing this fallout.
2,000 comments. What kind of things were they saying?
The report mentioned common labels being thrown around like fool, blabbermouth, even bipolar.
Pretty standard online insults then.
Yes, but also more specific accusations. Lots of comments apparently accused Trump of just bluffing about increasing weapons supplies to Kyiv, saying he wouldn't actually follow through.
Linking it back to the Ukraine war support.
Precisely. Especially referencing the promise Trump apparently made after that July 4th call to resume weapons shipments. They painted it as empty talk. This all points towards a pretty organized disinformation push, amplifying what the main state media channels were saying.
Okay, so we have this incredibly rapid, coordinated shift across TV, Telegram, VKontakte, attacking Trump personally, questioning his competence, his commitment. So stepping back, what does this all mean for you listening in and for the bigger geopolitical picture? What are the real strategic takeaways here?
Well, if you connect the dots, it's not just about state media being a mouthpiece, which, we know it is. What's really laid bare here is, I think, a kind of strategic impatience, maybe even brittleness within the Russian system right now. It wasn't just that Trump didn't deliver on a promise in that call. It's that the expectation, maybe an expectation of a quick win, or at least a clear path towards a favorable outcome in Ukraine, that expectation was shattered. And the reaction wasn't, a quiet reassessment.
No, it was loud.
It was immediate, aggressive, a full pivot designed perhaps to deflect any sense of disappointment or weakness away from Putin and on to Trump. It really shows how transactional these perceived alignments can be. If you're not delivering on Moscow's core objectives, especially on Ukraine, your perceived usefulness can evaporate overnight.
Right. And for you, the listener, this isn't just some abstract media studies point. It's a really stark example of how quickly unmet expectations can be weaponized in international politics.
Exactly.
It demonstrates the power and the speed of a unified state media apparatus to completely reframe someone. An ally or a perceived ally one day becomes a target the next. It shows the incredible fragility of diplomatic narratives when they collide with hard realities, especially in a high-stakes conflict zone.
It's information warfare in real time.
So what we've really unpacked today is this swift, total, and frankly dramatic narrative reversal in Russian state media regarding Trump. It's a powerful case study in the immediate, quite severe fallout when perceived disrespect meets significant policy divergence on critical issues. This wasn't a slow change of heart. It was a strategic repositioning, almost overnight.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Consider what this sharp turn tells us about the internal dynamics, the pressures, the expectations within Russia's political and media circles about the war in Ukraine.
Hmm.
What might this rapid condemnation signal about how they'll view future diplomatic efforts or potential peace talks, especially if those efforts don't immediately serve what Moscow sees as its non-negotiable interests right now? It suggests a very narrow window for acceptable outcomes, perhaps.
A really crucial question. Keep digging. Keep analyzing how information gets shaped and deployed out there. It's vital. We'll be back for the next deep dive.